Welcome to Wildcat Sports Update. This is my 100th edition of the show, and I am pleased to have in studio with me. My family is going to be here to celebrate 100 and ask me some questions to get the viewers to know a little bit more about me as well as them and how it's been to do 100 shows here at Wilmington's Community Television. So as we go around the room, I've got my wife Kelly, I got my daughter Amanda, and across from me I got my good friend from mid-old Boyles down to this, Jack. So again, welcome. I'm glad you guys could come in. It's a really important show. We started the show back in February of 2020, right before the pandemic. So I figured we'd open it up to everybody and figure out if you wanted to ask me something, some of our viewers can learn a little bit more about me that they might not already know as well. So we'll start with, is Kelly or Amanda, which is going to ask the first question?
I think I am.
Okay,
Yeah.
This is Kelly, you get the first one.
All right. So we were wondering what made you first start doing this?
Okay. That's a pretty easy one, too. The 2020 girls basketball team, coached by Jess Robinson, won the Freedom Division. And we were at that point Wildcat TV. So Adam Dusenberry, who was the producer, said, Jim, why don't we just bring them in the studio and celebrate that they won? So we said, okay, we'll do that. And, I had no idea how it was going to play out. We were just going to bring in the studio, probably for a one-off or two-off. And we came in. It worked really well. The girls were great. Jess was really good. I was average because I didn't really know how to start the show or not. But and I will be honest with you, I was nervous. Then the next week, the girls hockey team in 2020 won the Freedom Division like for the first time. So we brought their coach in, John LaPiana, and all the players all came in. So I had a really big studio audience for that. And that's really how I got started. Congratulations again to Coach Robinson, who's been really good to me at the high school as well. And she was really helpful with all the broadcasting I did. So that's how it got started. I never expected to
I was
get
going
to
to say,
100.
did you ever think you'd make 100?
Did I ever think I'd make it? In the first year, I never thought of it because the pandemic hit right after we did the second show. So I didn't expect to get 100. But once I got to 20, then my mind keeps thinking I'm going to get to more and more and more. So now that I got to 100, I want to get to 200. So but that's the way we really got started. Amanda?
So it's been 5 years, 100 shows. What do you think your biggest mistake in all 100 shows have been? What have been some things you've wished you could change, stuff you've learned from?
Okay. The honor is the biggest mistake I ever make is pronouncing names wrong. I was talking to Spencer Bagtaz at school today, and I said, what, that question would come up. And I said there was a Priscilla Vu was her name. And she was sitting right here in the old studio. And we did it like 3 or 4 times. And every time I went to announce her name, I said it wrong. I was still concentrating on Priscilla so much because of a different name. I called her Vo. I called her Vo. I called her Vo like 3 times. And they were laughing at me. So that's the one thing I think a mistake I made. The second mistake I think I can make is just to not realize how uncomfortable it can be to sit where you guys are sitting. Mm-hmm. And then how do I learn to make everybody comfortable doing that? And there's been another, mistakes about mispronouncing names. And, I've never really said anything, we'll call it controversial. Some of my kids have sworn on the air, thanks to my football and baseball program kids. Sometimes they let the word drop they shouldn't, but not few and far between. So who's next? Jack, you got one?
Is Jess Robinson the Knicks fan?
Yes, Jess Robinson is the Knicks fan.
Yeah.
Shout out to, and I don't know if I can announce it. She just she lives in Salem, New Hampshire. And I know that she was going for the Salem, New Hampshire.
I don't know if
job.
I can announce it as he goes to
Yes,
announce
exactly.
it.
Right, that's what I do.
Typical.
All right,
As long as that-
Straying away from the controversial.
yeah, that's right. But who's next? You want to go?
So
Okay.
just a question kind of following up. And she said that, how have you changed through this experience?
I'm probably more cocky and egotistical than I was to
That's
start.
not possible.
No,
it's true. Yeah.
I would think, first of all, a lot's changed because I had the accident right after the 3rd, 4th, and 5th shows. So that's a little bit of changed on I think, on me on that. I think I've gotten better at doing it. I think I'm better at handling kids, children, young adults, as well as anybody sitting in here. I think I'm much more comfortable sitting in the seat. I know how to prepare differently and better. My weight is going up and down. My hairstyles are going all over the place. The stuff I wear has changed. And I got some clips that will show about the first show, and clips will show about how I've changed throughout the time. But I think I have a better appreciation for the high school athlete than I did, even though I was very high to begin with. But that's something I think has changed. And I got
I don't remember. Did you do shows like through the pandemic and through your accent? I don't know why I don't remember this.
Okay,
but...
so what happened was, and a shout out to your father, Tom Pizzera, who actually helped to get me going here as well. That's Kelly's father and their grandfather. And Tom's he was instrumental in getting me involved with WCTV in the first place. But what happened was the pandemic hit, and they canceled the season. I had shows with the track, softball, and baseball team, and he and I did a little quick, I wrote a little synopsis about missing games. He shot it, and he shot those. So that was May or June of 2020, and everything was really shut down. The accident happened in July, and I finally got back in October after I was cleared to go back to work. And then we did some shows then. I had the old AD, Mia Muzio, came on, and I had the boosters on. I had some soccer and not even football didn't play, but some of the fall sports. So that's how we didn't really do a lot. But then the pandemic caused a lot of destruction, damage in the 2021 season where the school was closed down except for me and Adam were in it. So, yes, that's how it happened.
So we live with you all the time. We hear you say in every aspect of at any time in the day, I'll see you on down the road. That's like your catchphrase. So where did that come from? When did it start? I know you said that it didn't start in the first show. Like, how did that evolve and kind of come to be?
So the first show, there was nothing. I think we just ended it, and I thanked him. Second show, we ended, I thanked him. Third show was a weird thing. It was the sixth show I think we did in October, middle October, early November. Boys soccer. I was thinking to myself, what am I going to do to end the show? And it's just the same thing at the beginning of the show. So the beginning and the end were all in flux for a while. And so, again, I came up with, we'll see you on down the road, and I point and I smile. And that's all Springsteen, my Springsteen influence. My brain he's got a song called Further On Up the Road, which is talking about getting older and everything. But I figured, why don't I co-opt that a little bit, and we'll see you on down the road just became a catchphrase. And I think I've used it on every show since the sixth show. So that's where it came from. And you guys know me well enough to know that it had to do something with Springsteen.
Oh, are you a Springsteen fan?
There's a Springsteen quote for everything. This is my camera, right?
Yes.
There's a Springsteen quote for everything.
That's true. But that's how it came about. I probably thought about it a little bit more once we got back off the as I got back more. The first three shows I was just thinking about. My whole goal was to survive the three shows. And then now we started. And once you start doing it, then everybody expects to see it. And I ran into Brian Kane, who's like a big listener of Jack and my, it all boils down to this. And he always said, yep, I'll see you on down the road. Because it at least caught on to my, 150 loyal viewers. But that's really what it is. Jack, you got something?
That's a lot. 150 is a lot. Loyal?
Loyal viewers. You got a question?
I do not have a question right now. No, there's a ton of questions here.
Okay. We do. We came prepared.
Okay, who's next?
You go.
You want me to go?
No, you can go.
So
you know what's funny is this reminds me of the Saturday Night Live skit with the two ladies that do the sweaty balls thing. You two are talking together like in the same voice and the same inflection.
Nothing similar.
No,
it's okay. She
really
almost wore the same thing as me too.
Okay, so what is up next?
Another thing. So you have your catchphrase, "See you on down the road." You have also somehow branded yourself as the voice of Wildcat Sports. It's a little ironic that of the four people sitting in the studio right now, you are the only person who did not graduate from Wilmington High. So, how did you become the voice of Wildcat Sports? Who gave you that title?
Again, back to my father. Again, Tom, your grandfather did. Grandpa did, and Kelly's dad. We did something. We were doing a baseball. Well, we were doing a baseball game because I was doing a lot of games. So I also called probably about 170 games: Wilmington baseball, football, basketball, hockey, soccer. Jack called a soccer game or two with me. So I called a lot of games. And he was just about to put the credits came up, and it said the voice of Wilmington Sports or whatever it was. So I just co-opted that, and now I just tell everybody I'm the voice of Wildcat Sports because it's like I feel bad for like AD Dennis Ingram and all those guys have to listen to me tell everybody that I'm the voice of Wildcat Sports. But you're right. I didn't graduate from high school. I've lived in town for 28 years?
27.
27
Do
years.
not age me.
And again, I'm going to go around the room and just as I point to them, Kelly was a 1988 grad of Wilmington High School. She went to the old school for the whole time. Amanda's a 2016 graduate of Wilmington High School. She spent some time in the old school. And my buddy Jack across the way, he's a 2018 graduate of Wilmington High School. So Jack really plays.
He also spent a small amount of time in the old school.
He spent 3 months in the old school.
So Jack actually comes into play because he played a lot of high school sports that were being broadcast. And I had done, back in the early 2000s, Sports Forum with Paul Cardello, Red Sox Weekly with Rick Aronofsky. And that led to, then I started coaching kids, and I was out of the world where it was JV in the new high school that opened. So back to Tom Pizzera again. Tom and I went and did some games and to see what the lighting would be like. So that really got me started. And then Jack and I were driving to the 2017 Thanksgiving game against Tewksbury, and Chris Neville, my good friend, needed a cohort to help him out. And Tom said, "Would you like to do it?" I said, "Yep." I ran up, put a headset on. That was the first real WCTV broadcast I did, like, over the air. And from there, I did then I did all boys basketball in 2017-18, which is Jack's senior class. All my guys were playing, I knew all those kids. And then the next year I picked up girls, and then pandemic year I picked up some hockey, and then soccer and baseball and all that. That's really how the voice of Wildcat Sports is. It's a good title.
I have another question.
Yes.
How did you learn to call games? You had no experience doing that. So what was it that got you into that? And you're good at it. So, like, where did that come from?
Well, when I was growing up, I always wanted to be a broadcaster. But I love my parents to death, and they're great people. And I have the three people important here. But my dad would never let me be. He was always like, "You got to do this." So I had to go make money. So I figured it's a passion. So I got a chance to do it, and I do it. I know sports better than probably anybody else in the world here in the area, in every sport. And that's an egotistical thing to say. And once you start to know the kids, it gets even better and easier. So my passion plus my knowledge and as you can attest by the show, I love to talk. I love to be heard. And I think that really helped. But I get better and better, and I critique myself very much all the time. So that's really how I got into it. But that's life. And now I'm at 100 shows, and I'm at 160 games, and I'm the voice of Wildcat Sports, and I'm Jimbo, and I'm Boyle, and I'm all sorts of names. And I've had an opportunity over the last 8 years to redefine my later years of life. So I think that's good. And you guys have allowed me to do that too. So that's peace. Amanda, you up?
So, and this is a question that I know we kind of prepped before that just kind of came into my mind right now. So you obviously have coached a lot of kids in Wilmington. Obviously, like, you've been a very integral part of probably Jack's childhood and like all of his friends and growing up, and those were kind of like your core people. How has this show helped you kind of reconnect with a whole new generation of students that, like, you used to just know obviously the kids that were our age, and now it's like we go to the grocery store and it's a celebrity. We can't make it out of there without someone stopping you.
That's because the kids just love me, dear. I think the show has helped me. I was focused really with Jack's group on baseball and travel basketball stuff. This has allowed me the opportunity to get to know kids from a wide variety of athletic pursuits, as well as, some coaches and all. And I think it's really opened up the fact that, like, I was signing yearbooks today because the last day of the seniors, and I wrote in everybody that was on my show, because I know in 20 years I'm going to know who Jim Boyle was. I wrote everybody that was, "You were a great guest on Wildcat Sports Update. Thanks for coming on." That way, when their kids read Wildcat Sports Update, they're going to say, "What the heck was that, Mom or Dad?" And they're going to have to find it on YouTube and see them on the show. I think the coaching at the high school level, JV and varsity coaching, has given me another opportunity on the baseball side. But on the other side, I will say nothing but good things about our high school athletes when I bring them in here. They always impress me. They always do a great job. And it's really good. I think it's good to show that athletes can be good quality people, and they can stand out and show what a high school athlete or a high school student can be all about. So that's that one.
I don't have any. You guys I see all these questions here.
Okay, then I do have a follow-up to that. You're talking a lot about athletes and coaches. You've had some athletes, some coaches on. What has been the biggest difference between when you have kind of like a student athlete here versus like a coach or us?
Yeah, actually, it's a good question. the biggest difference is the type of question you can ask. With a student athlete, you want to ask them questions that will allow them to feel comfortable in the chair and promote themselves and promote the program. And when people watch, they say that's a great kid. With a coach, and I think I've had like 6 coaches on, and I'm going to have some more as we go forward in the next couple of weeks or months. The coaches, you can ask a little different level of question. The AD, me, I could ask a different level of question. I had Jamie Pote on for 2 shows, who's the newspaper, who's root for the town crier. You can ask them a little bit different questions. But the kids it's a matter of, I've come up with a format that it's the same format, so they're comfortable, they know how it's going to happen. If I got people in all the seats, they know what questions are coming and how they can field it. But I just find that coaches are different, and because they're older. Adults are different than teenagers and young adults, and you just have to understand that they should be a little bit more, the questions should be a little tougher on the coaches or the ADs or whoever, or anybody else. So, but that's really go.
If you could have anyone on the show, who would it be? And why?
Anyone? That's a good question.
Can you do
besides us?
There you go. Okay.
Can you do anyone on the show as just anyone in general, and then anyone on the show Wilmington specific?
Okay, so easy one is Wilmington specific, because the one guy's avoided me for 3 years, and he's been a great person within athletics. It's Dennis Ingram. And I told him today I was going to say that. He's all mad at me when he sees it. But all Wilmington, I'd like to see Dennis come in. I would love to have the kids that I coached, I have Jack anyway, he's on all the time at Old Boys and this. But like Riley Zaya and Chris Greco, who's been on the show with Jack and I. Carl Beatrice is there, Matt Rideout, Jared Acoyne, Danny Gracia, Graham Smith, those kids who I coached and in that group, Peter Marino, guys that that I impacted as a coach would be neat to have on just to see what their stories are like 10 years down the road. I see that down the road. Overall, who would I like to have? To not be political.
Just say like Brad Stevens.
No, it wouldn't be Brad. Actually, first one would be Theo Epstein. I'd love to have Theo on. Helped break the curse. Did a lot for me. And then it'd be neat to have a forum of the guys like Brad Stevens and Alex Cora and those sorts of things. And then if I could have anyone in the whole world on the show, I'd ask Barack Obama to come in. I'd love to talk to him and speak with him. And I know you don't want to be political on a sports show, but I think that we can learn a lot from that aspect of it. Jack, anything yet?
I have nothing. That was a good question.
I feel like
you so quiet.
I feel like I
I'm
could
not
have.
letting you ask your questions.
We're almost done here, so I'm gonna. I have
my glasses. Hold on.
So this, obviously, you've spoke about it before, that this is your passion.
Yes.
You've expanded on that, so you don't just do Wildcat Sport updates. It's kind of grown. It's grown into, you two have a podcast together. You're kind of doing different avenues. You edit your shows. You've kind of found every day I'm like hearing you be like, I'm going to post this on Instagram to promote my show, and I'm going to use AI on like Adobe and see what I can do. So how has this helped expand your horizons?
First of all, Instagram I'm terrible with. I have my Instagram person right there, Amanda.
That's me.
As far as the editing, I would say the way my weird career in my career world went, I got involved in IT early on enough, and I have an appetite and an aptitude for the AI stuff, for the editing stuff, and that sort of thing. For some reason, I can't do anything on my phone because it's so damn tiny, and I got to try to do posts on that. Expanding my horizons with it. I'm glad I do sports. I'm glad I call the sports. I think it all boils down to this with Jack has been phenomenally. I've really enjoyed doing it because he's always trying to be smarter than me, and he thinks he is sometimes, but I don't let him beat me at that too much. But if I'm going to expand even more, I'd really like to try to get some of the other students that aren't athletics in on the show. Maybe call it Wildcat Update or Wildcat Spotlight or whatever. We've done some things here at the studio and ask the same types of questions like a DECA kid or robotics or
Captain
something
of the
like
chess
that.
club.
Yeah, the chess
Jalen
club.
Brown.
So I think that would be it. But like I'm gonna put Jack on the spotlight. He's not gonna ask me any questions. What's it like? What was it like starting to do? It all boils down to this, and how is that seamlessly part of like how this works.
What do you mean? Like the podcast? I don't know. I like doing it in the podcast studio. It was fun being in there talking about sports. It had like an old school radio vibe to it. It was nice and it was easy to do, and it was fun to talk. We had Kevin calling in. We'd have Jay Trev doing stuff, so it was just fun talking about sports once a week. It was easy to do. Had the time to do it, and like I said, I like that old podcast studio.
If you had been in high school and I asked you to be on the show, would you come on the show?
I mean, I guess, yeah.
So I have questions for you guys actually for the end, because especially my two athletes, and some for Kelly that have related to me. So, but that's really I think we can do. I think the one thing if I can say it that I hope I've accomplished in the 100 shows, and I talk about it, is there are great kids out there. I mean and I have trouble because generations, Jack's generation, your generation are different than this generation, and the way things operate and the way the baseball players listen to me, coaching and doing this are different. But there are good kids, and there are good kids with great stories, and that's important to get out. And I think that at the high school, Principal Gendron, staff here, and those guys, and Dennis and Ingram and the coaches, we know that and we see it on a daily basis, and it'd be nice to try to explore that more. But I'm a sports guy right off the top. I'm a baseball guy first, and I love doing football and basketball with that. But I think that's the one thing that we can expand on and do better.
I'm cracking up because I wasn't here when you came up with all of these questions, but one of them was, like, what is Jim Boyle really like? And it cracks me up because, like, this is Jim Boyle. Like, there's nothing else there. Like, you're all out there for everybody to see. So I don't think there's any surprises.
I would say if I can
know.
say something that's a surprise, and this happened, this is more from a coaching perspective, is that actually people think they know me and they don't, because there's a lot of, you guys know me so well, but there are deeper layers to me and again, there are things that are private and with regards to how I feel, how life should work and stuff like that, which aren't part of the sports show. But something happened where Chris Greco, who grew up with Jack, lived next door to us, and he's starting his coaching career. And he was saying stuff in the audience, and I said the one thing that I think I want people to know about me is that I always try to see the good in somebody, whether I'm right or wrong. And I'm going to shout out my buddy Andrew Dalio, who I coached for a year, and who was a troubled boy or child, but I tried. And I saw good in everybody, from all the way from the best player to the worst player. And I want that's something I don't think people really know about me. I'm very upfront when it comes to this stuff. Everybody knows who I am, and if they meet me, they'll know. I will help anybody I can help, and I am very selfish at times too. So, and egotistical and cocky and all that other fun stuff. But that's what the question I'm going to ask. I have a question about describing me and stuff that'll come later when we start questioning you guys. So that's where we have that.
Question us.
Yes, you get question.
Well, not sign up
Amanda,
for that.
you did. You're going to love these questions. It's just like my show. I mean, how the flow shows. Amanda, getting more?
Show flows.
I just want. I mean, I know we strayed away from. We talked more about the show than your coaching. What was the first Wilmington team that you coached?
The first Wilmington team that I coached was Amanda. You were 6 years old.
Yeah,
so that would have been
2004.
2004?
I think it was 2004.
It was her T-ball team. And it got me. I always loved, passion to do this. I think the passion to play and coach baseball was even bigger. So it was your team, and it was fun. We had a good time. And then you tried to play softball, and that was my fault, and I did let you leave the softball arena
It's the one
to do
sport.
that. So, but that was how I got started. Then I took Jack's T-ball team.
And she also did probably the one sport that you really couldn't coach either.
That's true. That's true. I could probably,
No,
what?
you could not.
I could've.
No, you could not.
could've.
You could
You know
not
what,
be a
let's call Deb up
cheerleading
and
coach.
see if I could do it.
And
I'll call
she
her
will
right
tell you to your face, absolutely
But
not.
that's where I got started in coaching. And I had coached before, 18-year-old coach. I coached our over 30 baseball team. I had helped coach our fast pitch softball team in Cambridge down at Bio-Rad, where I met your mom. And my buddies like Mark Grant and Butchie Lopes and guys that I remember that we played. It was fun. I'm shouting at everybody. They're probably not even going to see this. But then I did catch a break.
Butchie Lopes will not be watching this. No.
Jack, to be honest with you, I don't even know if Butchie Lopes is alive because I am not young.
But the
I
umpires
will
have
also-
to be there.
I have to give a shout out to the old baseball coach Aldo Kyer. I was about ready to retire after the accident. We made the decision that at 60, what was it, 2002, so it was 60, that I would step away from the real world and be supported by my great wife who sits over here, who takes good care of me. And Aldo gave me the opportunity to start coaching JV, and I did, and that's progressed now. Like coach with Matt McManus at the high school, and I learned from everyone, and I really enjoy doing that. And I really another group of young men that I've been able to impact. So coaching is very important, probably more important even than this for me. For that, I think I can impact lives better. Who's
So,
next?
Jack, that's all of our questions. So if you have any,
You got any, I want to know what the questions we're getting asked.
well, he'll get to them later.
All right, so it's really pretty basic. Part of the show is I got to switch to the camera. Part of the show is we do a lot of learning about individuals because I like to. It's nice to talk about the team. And some of these are team wide, some of these are individual wide. They're not hard. If you were in the studio with me as an athlete, you would be asked these questions. For your mother, it's a little bit different because we have been out of high school for a long time, both of us.
Very long time.
Maybe much longer than her. But I do think that she can answer a few of them. And then you're going to get the same question. So it'll go right. You'll be last, Jack. And I am going to get you guys to do a shout out because I think it's fun. It's just all part of the show.
I don't know. It's almost been a decade since I've been in high school.
It has
Maybe
nothing to do
I've
with
aged out too.
So there's two things that I've learned through coaching and through the principal. Ryan has given me ideas. So you guys can all answer the questions. I'm going to give Kelly. You'll be able to do 3 of the 4 or 3 of the 5.
I don't think
Just
I saw
ask the
these
question.
ahead
Okay,
of
these are
time.
not. So number one, Kelly,
These
we're going to start with
questions were
Kelly.
not vetted.
First thing is,
Cheers.
and I asked this question: what advice would you give to a high school
Pass.
coach?
What
What advice? Living with one, what advice would you give, having seen it work?
So probably the biggest thing for me is get to know the kids.
That was mine.
Because everybody's different and everyone's going to respond differently to different types of coaching. And I think sometimes coaches come in with that one size fits all and this is my style. And sometimes that does work and kids adapt, but I think it probably works better if you get to know them and understand them and what's important to them and what's critical to them and what's going on in their lives that you may not know about. And I think building that relationship is really going to help get more out of the kids.
Excellent answer.
Oh, well, thank you.
And
I didn't know I would be great at it.
You're awesome. We're gonna have to bring her back for leadership stuff. Someone who impacted you at Wilmington High School. Was there somebody who you could look back, a teacher who had an impact on you as a youth?
You're asking me this? Or
Yes,
them?
I'm asking you this. Do
This
you
was
have
a
anybody?
long time ago.
There has to be
I
somebody.
don't
You've told me
know.
stories about
That
some of your
long
teachers.
ago.
Oh my
I mean,
gosh.
Mrs. Cosman was your cheerleader.
Yeah, Mrs. Cosman, who is still at the high school, was one of my cheerleading coaches when I was in high school. So it's kind of nice when I get to see her and spend some time with her.
What sports did you do at the high school?
I did cheerleading and I did gymnastics.
Did you any act? Oh, there.
I was an all-star basketball player.
Did you? Yeah, and the height transfer.
At 5'1".
What? Any other activities you did at the high school?
I was in DECA. I can't even remember.
That's
I did some committees.
Okay, so
student
the next
council,
question, because I'm on
student council.
on WCTV all the time. When's the last time you were on WCTV?
The last time I was on WCTV, it probably was when the kids went to see Santa.
Okay.
And that was, I don't know, 20 years ago or so. The last time I was
Those are
on.
deep in the archives.
Yeah.
Deep. I have some.
We've
of the
seen
footage.
them, but they're
And then
deep.
finally, I'm not going to learn to
Oh, I
athletics.
did
It
Model
takes a-
Congress too.
Model
Sorry, I
Congress. Good.
forgot about that.
And that's great.
Our
And
straight A
something
student.
about Jim, me, that people might not know.
These are hard questions.
Oh
These
wow! Can you come back?
Okay, we're
Because
coming
I
back
do
to that.
think
Do you
you're
think-
you're kind of an open book, but
We'll come back to you, Kelly.
okay.
I had an
I'm
answer,
gonna
I
think about
forget.
that.
Okay, and Amanda, we're going to go with
Yep.
you. Advice to a high school coach can be the same, but on a different vein.
Okay. And I was going to say hers was exactly the same that I did of you have to
sorry.
know your kids. But I think you and I talk about this all the time of like, she's like, you have to know your kids to kind of understand their style. And I feel like that was a very HR answer of like
Thank you.
understanding how people operate and how people work. I think it's just understanding their generation. And I feel like when you started coaching JV baseball, you definitely made it a point to, you were like, I'm 60 years old. I have no idea what these kids are saying. Like, they came to you and they were like, no cap. And you were like, Amanda, what does no cap mean? And I was like, I never thought I'd hear my 60-year-old father say the words no cap. And I have to admit, I also was like, do people really use that? But I think like
do.
you have really tried to understand, and I don't know if it's necessarily get on their level, but just having an open mind of like their generation and how they see the world is definitely different from when you grew up. So you have to just kind of make that effort. And I think it helps kids open up more and feel like they can connect more to a coach when they know like that their coach really understands their lingo and what's going on with them and stuff like that.
Good answer. You guys have answered better than the students' answer. Someone who impacted you in athletics.
Someone who impacted me in athletics is definitely Deb Smith, my cheering coach. I actually think I really only cheered for her for like 1 season, 2 seasons, but I feel like she's just, and then I went back.
Well, she was always a presence.
She was always a
in the
presence.
whole, yeah.
She was always a
Even though
presence.
she wasn't your coach.
But then I went back to Pop Warner. I coached, 3 years, and then I went off to college and I coached probably like another 2 years in the summer off of that and just coached with her. So I definitely think she's taught me a lot about just how to be an athlete and hold your head up high. And I will never forget, I cried because I came in 4th place in cheering in nationals, and she looked at me and she was like, you do not, like, anybody would kill to be in your position. You didn't win. You don't cry on the floor. And I was like, okay.
That's another, you asked me about somebody in Wilmington. I should probably have Deb on because I've known Deb a long time too. That's a great answer on that one.
Bet you Burlington wouldn't have killed him.
Yeah, what? When's the last time
So
you were on
mean.
WCTV?
So I was on WCTV the last time. Technically, I think the last time was on your podcast, but the last I was on the podcast because Jack threw a fit and decided he didn't want to record, so I stepped in.
No. He didn't record the podcast that I had recorded.
No,
and
this
I
was
didn't want to re-record
this was a
it.
different
Yeah,
time.
that
This was a
happened.
different time.
Right. He's right.
Yeah, it happened multiple
That
times.
Okay.
you didn't record the podcast
What's the
multiple
last time you were,
times
like, in the studio?
In the studio, it was with Lisa Capalla. It was in 2007 or 2008. We had 2008. We had just won our national championship, our first national championship that we won on the D team. So I was on with my cheering team with Deb Smith and with Nancy Sullivan to talk about our win.
You were in the
Perfect.
4th grade.
2
I
more.
was.
Something you learned in athletics that you can use in your life
don't know
now that
that.
you're 27 years old.
27, don't say 28, don't
We're
age
getting
me
there.
yet.
Okay.
You're still far away. I think I learned that you're not owed anything. Like, winning takes effort and it takes time, and you're not just going to show up and be the best at something, and you really have to work at that. And I think
that's such a cliche answer.
but it is true. Like,
You're
like,
going to get the answer too, Jack.
you show up in your job and it's like you're not just handed like, hey, I want a promotion, I want to get to this level, and it's not just like, okay, here you go. It's like you need to do the steps and you need to do the work. And I think cheering really taught me that. Like, we were really good in Pop Warner, and then I got to high school and all of a sudden Drake It came out of nowhere, and they were good and they were better than us. And we didn't win.
All right, so I'll ask the last question about something about me. We'll do that last after we're done with Jack. So you guys now you both can think about it. And Jack, you get to answer that one last. So
He usually like made fun of like, he said open
okay,
book.
here we go.
Everyone knows everything.
there we go.
Yeah,
So my
advice to coach.
Wait,
what's
I'm
my-
not done yet. I'm introducing you.
Oh.
My partner in crime, who does the podcast with me, and I will say it's great. It's fun to do the podcast with Jack. He's really good at doing it. He did one by himself, and I have to say he's almost up to my level.
Thank
talent.
you. Okay. Wow,
Advice.
wow.
I'm not gonna be too much. Advice you give a high school coach.
So mine's different. I'll go more. A lot of, especially in high school sports, there's one thing you have to remember as a coach is it's very much Jimmys and Joes and not as much X's and O's. So, if you go 3-17, it might not, don't be too hard on yourself. You might just not have the horses. So that's like a big thing I always think about a lot, especially with like a lot of high school coaches and everything. It's just, especially here in Wilmington, you don't win a lot and everything. And sometimes, obviously, not like because you're a bad coach or a lot of coaches deal with this here in Wilmington, but sometimes it's a lot about talent in high school sports. So that's my thing, not one of their connect with the players. So it's just like a reality of just what sports are. Is sometimes you don't have the team, and you might not be your flawless coach, but you can still be a good coach even going 3-17 or whatever.
I'm definitely going to play that one for Matt when I see him.
Yeah.
Someone who impacted you in athletics.
I really don't. Honestly, like
coach,
high school,
coaches?
my sports impacts would be you and like Uncle Joe for like a golf standpoint. So not really, no.
No coaches you
Not
remember?
really. Like I like Mr. Lynch, but he didn't have an impact on like my sports career.
Who's the best coach you ever played for?
I don't. What does that mean?
You're supposed to say me.
It's hard because you coached
He
him.
did shout you out. He
I
did
know,
say
I'm
you.
kidding. No, that's good. That's an honest answer. I mean, you're right. When's the last time you were on WCTV?
Yeah, whenever our last podcast was on WCTV, whenever that was. So then, before then, I don't know when I was on WCTV playing sports. I don't know. I don't know if I'd ever been in the studio. Like
Senior day.
Yes, it might be.
Jack threw out.
Right?
Jack
I don't
caught the
think I
first
ever. I don't
pitch.
know if I would ever been.
No,
here
I don't
in
think you
studio
were.
Besides doing our podcast there, maybe my birthday party actually.
Yeah.
Oh.
we did that. I
Oh,
forgot about
you're
that.
right. That actually is
Jack's.
the last time I was in WCTV. Was your birthday
There
party?
you go. The Jack Pack.
The
yeah,
Jack
I
Pack.
forgot all
Very
about
famous.
that. Yeah.
I hosted a show before.
Also
you did.
deep in the archives.
We have
the
that.
making of the
The
Jack
making of the
Pack.
Jack
That's
Pack
on
is out there.
YouTube.
That is.
You have to
fun.
put the picture on.
Yeah, I
this.
figured. So I will like I said, at some point I'm gonna edit in some things that I have
Next question.
that happen. So the next question is actually pretty easy. Jack, what have you learned in athletics that you can apply to
Yeah,
life?
that's the one where it's just like you just give it. I don't know. Teamwork makes the dream work. I don't know. Like, what did I learn from athletics? I don't know, I
Jimmy's and Joe's, not X's and O's,
he's
and
very deep.
teamwork makes the dream work. And you
No,
called
that's
me, and you called me cliche.
Okay,
So
so
I know that was
so
my point. Is I wanted to make it like that. I don't know. What is your answer to that question?
What is my answer? I learned
yeah.
from athletics. I learned perseverance. I learned that you don't always have to be the best. I'll put the camera on me. You don't always have to be the best player.
Well-
and I never was to be a valuable member of a team.
Yeah.
That the 18th player on a team can still go 25-3 or 23-5 and win a District 3 championship in Pennsylvania, even though I only had
Well,
6
not if they were
at-bats.
18.
Shout out
though.
Muhlenberg.
That goes to my Jimmy and Joe's
No,
point.
no,
yeah,
no.
obviously you can have an impact and all that, but
you asked me the question.
You're not
I'm
going to
asking-
win your district championship if you don't have a guy who's getting drafted.
No, the question was.
This is what the dinner table
This-
is like.
Yeah, but
if
That's
you ever
one-
wanted to know.
That's players 1 through 10.
No, that's what I'm
I
saying.
was player
He
number
was
18.
18.
No, I know.
But you asked the
But
question.
if there
is,
were 18 of you on your team, on your high school baseball team,
we would have sucked.
that's
and
so
would like your high school coach be like this great coach to you, or would it just be this guy? That's the thing. It's
Right? No,
you
no.
need
But
talent.
again, you
Talent
asked the
changes
question.
everything.
The question is, what is something you learned in athletics that you can apply to life? And I say perseverance and understanding that you need a whole team, or as Jack Cliche would say, it takes a village to
Well, I didn't
win a
say
game. I'm just using the cliche.
Teamwork makes the dream
And
work.
back to
Well,
and
again,
I
it goes
right.
to everybody has a role. too.
Correct,
Like you
correct.
found a role for that team.
right,
So
right. That's correct. So the
My role is getting hurt and causing us to lose extra games. That was what my role was, as like the 18th man.
Right. Someday we'll talk about that on the podcast. That's that great story. But you didn't ask me coaches.
We didn't have guys who got drafted. though.
One of the questions that I think you're going to ask is, and because this is a coaching show, coaches that impacted me. And I remember almost all my coaches, and I have to go with Coach Leroy Sipe, who actually sat me down. He was my senior year of baseball in Muhlenberg High School in Pennsylvania. Coach Leroy Sipe. He sat me down before the game and said, "Listen, I got to tell you right now, Jim, you're my 18th pick. I'm going to give you a choice. You can make the team and probably not play, and I'm not guaranteeing you anything, and you to help out, or I can let you go." And I made the decision because I love playing for him, and that I would play. And I learned more from him, or as Bruce said, I learned more from a 3-minute record than I ever did in school. I learned more from
a Bruce
like,
quote for
so that's
everything.
what I would say. Okay, so let's
Wait,
go.
actually, I have a follow-up question
Follow-up
now
question.
to what you just said. Do you think, because you were not the best player on the team and you were never going to be the best athlete, do you think that affects how you approach coaching versus like a coach who was the superstar athlete? You were the 18th man, so you said you try to see the good in everyone. Do you think that's where that comes from?
Yes, it does. And it's just like the best major league managers, sometimes they're backup catchers.
Yeah, bench player Joe Mazzulla.
So I would think that yes, it does. And I have a different viewpoint on how it works. I had to work harder than everybody else. I had to be more knowledgeable than everybody else. I never played basketball, but I did get to coach some basketball. And again, shout out to Coach Cheney, who's another one. I can't have him on the show because he's no longer in the world.
May he rest in peace.
But yes, I think that really did. I tell that story, and my buddy Julian Martins, he knows the story inside and out. Oh, Coach was the 18th player, and he hit 2 for 6, and he had a double in his last at bat, and he'll tell you the whole story about that. So that's what I would take from that. Now I'm going to go back to the final question. We don't do a shout. This will be it, so that our audience can understand something about me that people might not know to be a fact. Jack, you want to go first?
I can go.
Okay.
If
He
you
doesn't like
don't wanna
buying
go.
eggs.
He doesn't like buying eggs.
Oh my God.
Oh yes.
Actually, if you does all the grocery shopping.
If
People
you
may not
ask
know
him-
all the people at the grocery store see you.
If
so,
you ask
yeah.
him to buy you something at the grocery store, you better hope it's not super expensive.
Okay, one
Or
thing
it
about
won't come.
okay, that's serious. That's true.
It
but
is.
They don't need to know that stuff.
That was comedic relief.
Okay,
You should
so
keep that part
Kelly,
in.
you want to go first? One thing about me that
She
I can
Amanda?
go. I'll
Yeah,
go
who's gonna
first.
go
I'll go
first?
first. And I'll be honest. I knew that this question was coming ahead
so
of
you got
time.
to think about it.
I
didn't.
think I'm going to approach it in a different way. I think you've talked about it a little bit. Being from Muhlenberg, Pennsylvania, you moved up here because of the Red Sox. Not necessarily on a whim, but I'm pretty sure you bought your season tickets before you had your own apartment and you slept on someone's floor.
Yeah, the season tickets came about a year later, but yes, I moved up here. I always wanted to be either in athletics or have a season ticket to the Red Sox, and I eventually did that in '87. So my goal is to make 50 years, which is a
Those
couple
yeah,
years.
they're doing well for us right
Yeah,
now.
thanks, Jack. So that's a good one. Jack, what do you got? Something about me that
Wait,
nobody
what was
would
your
know.
point?
Yeah,
He moved up here
moved up
on
here.
a whim with the Red Sox.
I thought she had more as well.
No,
You
that's
have more?
it. Doesn't have to. You guys are over
So
analyzing
the thing
the
is, he'll do
question.
things on a whim. I feel like that's like the one thing he would do on a whim. Everything else he really
Well, that's
doesn't
the
do on a
point.
whim.
That's
Okay,
the point.
so that's
the
what
one
what
thing
is that
he did.
about me that people might not know?
I don't know. You like to plan,
And I'm organized.
but people know that. Like that's
Okay, so
that's the
something
thing that
about
Mom
me-
made the point. Is you're quite an open book.
So you and I have been to a lot of
Taking the
games and a lot
question
of
too literally.
places and a lot of things.
you don't
It's
like people walking in front of you at the ball games when it's
Do-
the middle of the pitch. The
Do
at-bat.
not
But
walk
again,
in
they would
front.
know that.
Oh yeah, you defend your players and your family so much. This made me think of there were 2 drunk guys in front of us at the Red Sox game, and they came in. They weren't supposed to sit there, and they blocked my view. And I genuinely thought you were going to get in a fight with them because they were being so rude.
Jack, have I ever
Yeah,
been
he's
close to a
all-
fight at Fenway?
No, not that I really recall.
Oh, that one you have to admit
Okay.
you came close to a fight at Fenway.
Okay.
But I think that goes to your sense of fairness in the world. And you will defend to a fault sometimes.
Yes.
What you believe is
true.
fair or versus unfair. And it's very deep seated. And if it impacts a family member or maybe
Which is
someone
a
that you're
family.
coaching or somebody, you will do that.
Which kind of
I think the other one is you are a giant sweet eater, a closet sweet eater. But people might know that because they send you brownies and things. So.
Yeah, Olivia,
Yeah, yeah,
Catherine,
what are you gonna
Catherine
say?
will always give you cookies.
They always take care of me. People, that's very true, and I can tell by the stomach.
It's like big secret about him. He likes the temple owls. I don't know if you ever see him wear temple clothing.
which I can't wear because it's
You
like
don't own anything but Wilmington clothing or Temple clothing or Red Sox clothing.
okay.
Do you ever regret any of your hairstyles? You ever wish that you got a haircut before you came in the studio?
Oh, there's one if I show it like right after the accident that I hadn't gotten a cut yet. I think there's a bad one. Oh, right as the pandemic.
Well, that was COVID. 'cause
With
you
COVID,
couldn't
it
get
was
your
really long,
haircut.
and then we changed the hairstyle. You didn't really. I only have like 2 shows or 3 shows with I'm shaved head.
Oh yeah,
But
you
I don't
changed
have-
your hair. You had the same hair for like 25 years
Yes, I
until
did.
your
I did.
accident.
Final question, and before we shout out, and this is just because I want to get it because you all know, Jack, greatest game you ever been to? Sports game.
Sports? I say the wild card game in 2021.
Oh,
Versus
the one that
Yankees.
I let you go to.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, and best travel we ever did, sports wise.
I went to Man United.
Good. Amanda, best
They
game
suck.
you ever been to?
The 2018 Red Sox World Series,
Okay.
Game 1.
And best travel we ever did?
For sports or just like
Anything
in
for you
general?
because we were chatting.
Oh my goodness.
What's the number one? Come on, quick.
Can you come back to me? I'm
No,
gonna.
I
I'm
can't
gonna
come
make
back
it
to you.
Still stuck on what my best game
I-
was.
I know.
but
Okay, best travel. I feel like I really liked going to Kansas City for that game. One, because Rob, your nephew, dared you to go sit in like a stadium, like a part of the stadium that had absolutely nobody in it, and the woman in front of us kids was like, look at that man over there, and she's like, don't look at the drunk man. And another thing, Jim Boyle does not drink, so that was funny in and of itself.
Good. Kelly, you get the last word.
I have my best games actually, and it's not the World Series, even though I did go to. What year was that? I don't remember. Which one did I go? 2007. Yeah, game 1. It's not that. It would be the March Madness games. I was pregnant with Jack.
Yeah.
In Boston, where Temple played.
Yeah.
Those were they were a lot of fun.
Exciting stuff.
It was a long time ago.
Good. All right. Anything else?
I don't get to answer the travel question.
Yeah, travel question. We've traveled a lot.
We have been all over the world, but still one of my favorite places to go is the Jersey Shore.
Which we'll be doing in August.
Shout out New Jersey.
Shout out to Patrice and Howard and everyone else. So again, it's great to have you on. I hate to say this to the kids. These guys have to put up with me all the time. My 100th show, I wanted to make it special to me. This is special to me. 100's a long way to go. I'd like to get to 200. There's plenty of kids out there who want to be on the show, and I appreciate it. I'm going to go back around the room. We got my wife, Kelly, who's put up with me for over 30 years. We got my daughter, Amanda, who's put up with me for over 27 years. And we got my partner in crime, with it all boils down to this Jack.
I've been co-partner in crime a lot.
Co-partner in crime, whatever. So great to have you on. I hope people learn more about who I am and why I do the show and what Wilmington Athletics means to me. And
we'll see you on down the road.
There you go.
Congratulations.
Congrats on 100.
Thanks a lot. And like I said, for Wildcat Sports Update, I'm Jim Boyle, and we'll see you on down the road.